After the 16th century, European printmakers and draftsmen increasingly represented the empirical study of human anatomy in images ranging from the documentary to the fantastical. These artists sought new opportunities to understand the structure and the mechanics of the body beyond copying other works of art. They studied live models and attended anatomical demonstrations held at academies and studios, or sought out work with medical men with access to corpses. Anatomists also hired artists to create visual records of their research. These experiences offered exceptional access and insight to a fortunate few. One of the most famous foundational examples of this genre dates to the 1540s. It's the woodcut title page to one of the groundbreaking illustrated anatomical atlases authored by Flemish physician and anatomist Andreas Vesalius. The print presents students and onlookers gathered around a demonstration being conducted on a very exposed body. The setting is a dramatic space, more evocative of a church or a performer's stage than in an anatomical theater. With one hand on the corpse, Vesalius, who appears in this portrait tucked into the crowd in the lower left, leads a lesson from the open torso. However, the real star of this print is a skeleton at its center. It holds a teacher's maul stick, a long pointer, and presides over the entire spectacle with its skull tilted upward toward the heavens and, conveniently, the book's title. Here the skeleton functions as a symbol of all humanity, of death, of the facts of nature. It also is the tangible objective of the systematic study transpiring below on the table. Printed images influenced not only how artists rendered the body, but how they blended visual naturalism with imaginative content. The wild design of Giorgio Ghisi's macabre engraving contains multiple bodies in various stages of completeness and composition. Though their bones are anatomically incorrect, the skeletons engraved by Ghisi may have been inspired in structure and in pose by the Vesalius title page, Seen It Right, which had been published just a decade earlier. 200 years later, English printmaker William Hogarth also paid respects to the Vesalius with this print, The Reward of Cruelty. It depicts the end for character Tom Nero, a highwayman who had been executed by hanging for murdering his pregnant girlfriend. The image responds to England's Murder Act of 1751, which mandated that criminals executed for murder, like Nero, could not be buried, and anatomists could take any bodies that were not claimed by family. The print's title suggests that the criminal's true punishment is the dissection, witnessed by students and indifferent gentlemen who had paid an admission fee. Hogarth's physician-instructor figure, with his darkened eye sockets and stiff demeanor, offers a modern update on the skeleton figure from Vesalius, Seen It Right. This unflattering satire from the later 18th century is believed to be of the Scottish brothers William and John Hunter, who had counted among the most influential surgeons and anatomists of their day. The Hunters earned international reputations for conducting research that was driving modern medicine forward. However, at the same time, public opinion of anatomists was tainted by associations with grave robbing, which is referenced here in the lower left by the head that appears to be split by a shovel. Hogarth's representation of the surgeon as being very focused on his work and wearing thick eyeglasses, Seen It Right, is echoed in the later satire on the Hunters. The inspiration for both prints may have been one and the same. Hogarth drew from dissections, and when he ran a drawing studio as a young man, he engaged William Hunter to instruct his students. In the late 1960s, African-American painter Jacob Lawrence also generated a series of drawings related to the other prints in Vesalius's books. This drawing defines the raw architecture of man, surrounded by symbols for construction work, including saws, hammers, nails, and the plumb line dangling from the flayed figure's hands. Lawrence often used those tools as symbols for the centuries of unacknowledged contributions made by Black labor to the infrastructure of the United States. In this drawing, created during the Civil Rights era, the body is stripped of its skin and outward racial signifiers, revealing what really makes the man. Both William Hogarth and Jacob Lawrence brought the medical body into contemporary political conversation. However, depictions of anatomical observation traditionally remained set within the context of art instruction and theory. Students in Cornelis Court's engraving practiced the arts in a grand gallery space. In the left foreground, and seen in the detail at right, students draw directly from a skeleton. And behind that, another surgeon in spectacles raises his knife to a suspended corpse in order to remove the skin and reveal the muscles. Looking even further back in time to Pietro Francesco Alberti's etching of an art academy, students draw from a skeleton and, in the background at right, investigate a body open at the chest. A painting of the crucifixion hangs above them. The arms of the corpse extend in a pose similar to that of Christ, and the figures within the painting seem to mourn both. Nicolas Dorigny's 1728 engraving also contrasts the study of art versus nature within the context of the academy. As seen in the detail at right, an instructor and 3 youths stand at the bases of statues of Hercules, Apollo, and Venus. However, the instructor directs the students away from the classical sculpture and toward a cast of a flayed body. The purpose of anatomical study was to enable the artist to understand the body's proportions from all directions and in any pose. For example, this nude drawn by Spanish painter Juan Conchillos Falcó is naturalistically rendered and closely observed. He most likely drew it from lamplight, which accounts for the dramatic flickering highlights rendered in white chalk. This engraved illustration from Diderot's Encyclopedia project explores the musculature of a man's lower leg and the proportions of the feet, much like details seen in the previous drawing by Falcó. This presentation of information speaks to the Enlightenment impulse to observe, document, and disseminate new standards for measuring and interpreting nature. And finally, in the mid-1940s, Bay Area printmaker Beth Van Hosen studied art at Stanford University and produced this drawing in class. The artist went well beyond the assignment of looking closely at the skeleton's proportions and mass. She applied delicate ink washes to articulate the curves and hollows of the bones. Moreover, the skeleton's jaunty pose implies movement and some sassy individuality in its direct engagement with the viewer. It also is a modern descendant in a long tradition of representing the truth of the body in ways that acknowledge more than the beauty on its surface.